Hey guys, welcome back to the Heating Up Podcast. I'm Dylan.
I'm AJ.
And we're ready to cook this thing up this week. We back in full swing at school. First week of classes is in the books. And we got big things on the podcast. We've got our first special guest. And you guys already partially know him because we refer to him a lot.
A lot.
We've got Drew Watson here with us
Drew
today.
Watson.
He's going to tell you a little bit about himself.
Hey guys, I'm Drew. Thanks guys for the invite. Really excited to be here. I'm a sophomore here at Boyce College studying communications. I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts, so huge Red Sox fan, Celtics, Patriots, everything Boston.
Yeah.
Try to remain unbiased in my opinions here today.
Man, he's already throwing shots.
But,
all right, that's cool.
Really enjoying the last Super Bowl win.
All right. Yeah, a little awkward on campus last spring.
Watching those
around
Chiefs
the
Patriots
AFC
games.
Fun game. It was all right.
That was a repeat of the regular season.
Well,
We watched both those games together.
We did watch both those things. That was very interesting. But looking forward to a good season. I think it's gonna be a very good year in the NFL. But that's not what we're talking about today.
We're not. We're switching gears. We're talking about baseball. Been one of the main topics the last couple weeks. This week though, we're gonna be looking at the wild cards. 2 wild cards. One pretty wide open with about 7 or 8 teams that are vying for a spot in the NL. But in the AL, it's pretty much about a handful of teams, if that, that are vying for that spot. So, Drew, who you got?
He's
for
throwing it to the
AL?
nowbie. Okay, all right.
No grace period.
Here we go.
I'm excited. All right, so I'll start off with the AL. I think AL, like you said, there's not as many teams that are in huge contention. I think Yankees have the AL East locked up.
Yeah.
As
You
painful,
sure? You sure about that?
As painful as it is for me to
Just want to make
say,
sure. Okay.
Yankees, they have so much depth. I mean, it's crazy how much depth they have in the team, and they have a large lead right now. I think they're going to win the AL East. AL West, Astros. There's not really too much contention there. Athletics will look good, but they're not going to win the division.
No, they're not. They are a good team, though.
They
right?
are, yeah.
My boys.
We'll talk about
They're
that.
my secondary boys. Come on now.
And then Central. So right now, if you look at the standings in the AL, the Twins are the lead. They have a 3-game lead in the Indians. I think there's about 34 games left in the season.
Just about.
Yep.
Around that. Probably depends on the team. But I think just some recent things I've seen with the Indians, I think they're going to actually end up winning the division, bumping the Twins to the wild card. Twins have a couple injuries. Got a couple guys in the 10-day DL. And I think that that might set them down a couple games. They have 2 more series against each other. So I have the Indians and Twins switching spots.
Okay.
No other teams in Central that are any chance of the playoffs. And then my last team that I have in the second wild card spot for the AL, I have the Rays. I honestly think the Rays have looked really good this season. And again, painful as a Red Sox fan because there's 2 teams better than me. But the Rays are good. I mean, they've just been a fun team to watch, and they're 9 games behind, which is a lot from the Yankees.
Yeah.
But the fact that they actually have one of the best records in the AL, despite that, I'm impressed with that. And so I think the Rays, they'll get that second wild card spot, bumping out really the only other teams, the Athletics and the Red Sox, that have any chance of making the playoffs. But, all right, moving to the NL.
But the AL, I mean, with the Rays, they still have 2 of their stars that are still down.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Like, they have injuries and they've been completely fine. So
I think the young guys are stepping up there. And they're hungry.
Austin Meadows is on a tear right now. He's been one of the best players to watch this season. But all right, watch your mouth, boy. What you got?
Okay, all right,
Talk
NL.
Talk to me.
Dude, NL is they're stacked this year.
Oh,
Looking at teams,
deep. It's
what we got?
I really think there's only one lock. I think the Dodgers have the West locked up. There's really the Diamondbacks and Giants look okay, but they're not going to make the playoffs in the stacked NL this season.
Okay, no Giants. I see it.
Yeah, and then it's hard to say they're a lock, but I think the Braves are really close to being a lock.
Yeah, I agree.
They have that 6-game lead in the Nationals right now. They're looking good. They have some fiery young guys this year, and every Braves team I've watched this season, it's just been I just want to see more dingers.
They're entertaining to
And,
watch.
Yeah,
It's
they're just
must
fun.
see TV.
Yeah.
Must see TV.
Braves fans rejoice. Your team is finally back.
Yeah, finally.
They're like cockroaches here at
Oh,
Boys, man. They're all
they
over the
are.
place. You
Yeah,
got
they are.
professors. you got,
As soon as they start getting good,
Man,
everyone
it's
starts
like-
coming
yeah,
up.
yeah.
I saw some dude in a Kuna shirt in class the other day. I was like, "How long have you been a Braves fan, bro?"
That's true. It's true.
But I think the divisions, the NL East and NL Central, there are a lot of good teams in those divisions. So
Yeah.
I'll say Braves are going to win, set them out of the wild card, obviously.
Okay.
Then NL Central.
Mhm.
All right, AJ,
Yeah.
I know this is your division. You're a
It
Cards
is my
fan.
division. It's true.
Um,
I'm repping it right now.
So I mean, right now, right here we have the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
They only have a 1-game lead though on the Cardinals.
Mhm.
I think the Brewers are going to win the division.
Whoa!
That's a
I wasn't
I-
even okay. I was at least gonna be like a little uncomfortable you saying Cubs, but you're going full.
No,
Okay.
I love the Brewers.
Wow.
I love Yelich.
Wow.
I think he wants more postseason. He
Mhm.
wants to be one of the best players in MLB. I think he's proven that in the last 2 seasons, especially since he's come to Milwaukee.
Okay.
I think that there's a lot of games left. 30 in the span of the season's not a ton, but that's a lot of games. They can go on a streak.
And usually the end of the season's division loaded, so you got
Right.
a lot of division games.
Right. If they can win enough games against the Pirates and the Reds, they'll probably play at least one more series against those teams.
Yep.
And they can get a couple more dubs. So I think the Brewers are going to shoot up to the top of the division.
I mean, they're
winning.
3 games out of the wild card
Right,
now. You're-
which
Four
they're
games out of
only
the
4
division.
games behind in
Okay.
the entire.
Division.
They're not bad.
all
I
right.
think they're a good team. They have solid players, solid position players.
They do.
Their pitching staff has stepped up this season
Yep.
They have.
compared to last season, and so I think the Brewers are going to win the division. And then my 2 wild card teams. This is tough, man.
I know it's tough.
It's tough. It's hard to know.
Yeah.
But I'm going the top wild card team with the Cards. I think they're 7-3 their last 10.
It's true.
It's pretty good. I mean,
Sure.
they've been a good team for, a while. They've had their
Consistent.
setbacks, but
Yeah.
I think adding Goldschmidt this season has really helped.
Praise
He's
hands for that one. That was
one of the best first basemen the last 5
Yeah.
years easily.
honestly, yeah.
I mean, it's astounding that they added that much talent in Goldschmidt. He's a great player. So then here's where I'm just I don't know. I don't know who to pick here.
This might be an early hot
This-
take from the newbie.
I am gonna go a hot take here though. I
Oh.
think just I was wrestling between 2 teams going into this segment. I'm gonna make my decision right here. The Mets.
I got
He-
you.
he-
I
My
got you.
man!
I
My
got
man!
you.
Pete Alonso,
My guy!
please keep hitting home runs. Adding Marcus Stroman at the deadline, huge
Oh,
addition to
yeah.
their pitching staff. They're looking like a more solid team down the stretch. I know Nationals. They're looking at decent right now. They're 8-2 the last 10 games. But I love the Mets this season, and again,
Amazing
painful.
Mets.
I've never
Well,
loved the
Red
Mets
Sox,
more than
New York,
right now.
But
I've never loved the New York Mets more than right now. That is
yeah, I mean, again, that's bumping out the Nationals and the Phillies and the Cubs.
Oh, he put at the bottom of those 3. He said Nationals, Phillies, Cubs. We
But-
gotta have him
Don't
back.
get
We gotta have-
Hey,
he
this
may
is
be a
what I
Pats
like.
fan, but this
I
is
might have you
this-
back because you're getting him real hype. I'm
Hey.
about to bring him crashing
Hey,
down in a
hey,
minute.
he may send me crashing down, but we're in good
If we
terms
talk
right
some
now.
NFL, I may send him
Hey,
crashing down.
we're one sport at a time. One sport at a time. We're in good terms right now.
But that's
I
where
love-
that's where I
okay.
I
stand
think
right
so.
now.
From the sounds of it, we're all agreeing that the Mets are gonna make the wild card. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
You go first.
because
Okay, I'll go
crash
last.
you
I'll go
down.
last. Oh, okay.
So AL, I think pretty much all the divisions are locked. I think the Indians and the Twins are going to battle it, but I think the
Yeah,
Indians are still
okay.
going to make the wild card.
Okay.
Indians are still going to make the wild card. They made that trade deadline move to get Puig.
Oh, huge.
And then they have the second best pitching staff in the American League, and led by Clevenger, who's having a ridiculous season. And then they got a stud in Brad Hand as their closer. But I think hold on, give me a second.
Shane Bieber too.
So the team that I'm going with second, I'm not looking at you. 4th best team in the AL, and
Talk
on
to
the
me!
10th in the AL in the offense. going with the Athletics. I'm
Celebrate good.
And I know I made fun of them a couple weeks ago.
Come on, Dylan.
But I did say that they usually sneak into the playoffs. They just don't do anything in the playoffs.
They're the Bengals. They're the Bengals of the MLB. I'll give you that.
When was the last time the Bengals made the playoffs?
That's true.
That's true. That's true.
But
The
the main reason I'm going with them is that they have 35 games remaining, and 26 of those 35 games are against sub 500 teams.
Wow.
And so they're playing a lot of the Tigers, Rangers, teams like that closing out the season, they really have nobody to play. So here we go in the NL. This is my favorite. I've been literally so over, like, I've had some sad points. Today's my long day in classes, and so I was sad.
I'm glad you're sitting next to me.
And a couple times.
He may be a Pats fan, but he's
the couple times that
now.
I was sad in class, I thought about this segment. And
Wow.
I was really excited.
Wow.
So, let's do this. So, in the NL, I agree with Drew. NL East, locked up. NL West, locked up. So that leaves the NL Central and a couple other teams in those other divisions that are vying for that wild card spot. I agree the Mets, I think, are going to be the second team in the wild card.
Why?
The second team.
What? For his reasons or what?
I mean, they have the 6th best pitching staff and lineup. And then, I mean, they're 1 through 5, like Drew pointed out, on the mound is probably the best pitching rotation. You got Syndergaard, DeGrom, Stroman, Steven Matz. Like, you've got a bunch of guys there. And then you got Michael Conforto, who's having a breakout year, same as Jeff McNeil. You got a lot of guys that are playing. They have some holes, but they have the least amount of holes, I think, in the remaining wild card teams that I can be confident in. They don't. The back end of their bullpen's a little shaky, but I agree with. I think they're good.
Okay, stop beating around the bush,
Okay.
Dylan. Come on now.
I'm not beating around the bush. I'm excited to do this.
Okay.
So I think that the other team that's making the wild card,
So you're not making
Washington
the division.
Nationals. Washington Nationals, I think, are going to make the wild
Hold
card.
on! Whoa!
No, this is not the hot take.
Whoa.
I think the NL Central winner is the Chicago Cubs, leaving the St. Louis Cardinals
One team from the NL Central is making the playoffs.
The Chicago Cubs.
One team is making the NL Central for the playoffs?
Cubs. Yes.
The Nationals and the Mets are beating out the Cardinals and the Brewers for the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay, so let's compare this.
Hold on. Can we just let that silence linger for half a second?
I mean, the stats don't lie and the eye test don't lie.
He is Mr. Statistics. He's got to stay with
Yeah,
the
I mean,
he's Mr. Couch Coach himself.
Let's look at the Cubs. I'll go to the Cubs. The Cubs, in the 3rd best pitching staff in the National League. Pitching wins you championships. They have a bullpen, they have a starting rotation, and they have what most teams don't have: experience. All of their guys have been to the playoffs.
Okay.
They even kept Craig Kimbrell to the back end of their rotation to deepen that rotation, give depth to that position. But I'll give the Cards this. They have a decent pitching staff. They have a pretty good pitching staff that I think they're what? They're second in the NL.
So this is called an affirmation sandwich. You give an affirming statement, you give the hard truth, and you affirm it just to make the sandwich.
But you wanna know
this
where
does not work. This does not help in sports, y'all. Just FYI.
You know where they rank though in batting? Let's see. They rank 13th in the NL out of 15 teams.
Okay.
They cannot hit the ball.
Okay.
And you have to win games, you have to score runs. And they're not doing that. They're not putting guys in position. You know who is?
Okay.
The Cubs. The Cubs are putting guys in position. They're doing everything that needs to be done. They're hitting home runs. They got
so much.
And
right
their lineup is scary good. And they don't even have everyone. They don't have
Javi
Ben
Baez.
Zobrist. They got Javi. They got Chris Bryant.
We were friends. I'm glad we're video recording this. The look I just gave Drew just shows how far gone this has gone in the past 3 minutes.
You may be.
This took 3 minutes. This took 3 minutes. Someone shot my cloud and I fell face first in the dirt.
I think you can be the biggest fan of a sports team. You have to admit greatness in other teams.
I know. I'm about to get to that. I'm allowing him to speak. No, I'm gonna get to the Chicago Cubs.
This is what I talked about. I loved that you elevated him up here, and I brought him right face on the ground. All right, AJ, who you got?
Oh, it's my turn. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know you were done. Okay, all right. So I wanted to let you speak. You made some good points. I appreciate the statistics because I also have some statistics. I have the statistics to back up my answer as well because I'm actually not going to talk about the Chicago Cubs. I just don't think they're going to win the division. That's just my personal opinion. But how dare you? How dare you say that only one NL Central team is making the playoffs? That does not fly, especially when you're saying that the NL East is going to have two wild card teams in the playoffs. 2, or actually 3, because the NL East winner. That's even worse. It's just okay. Hold on. So let's talk about this. Got to bring it back down. Braves. You got the Dodgers. No, you know what? I'm gonna go L. I'm gonna build up again. We're gonna go to what we all agree on first. So you got the Yankees and you got the Astros. Obviously, if anyone had any argument with that,
the Orioles are winning the AL.
Yeah. And so I think that the Twins will win the Central. Personally, I think that the Indians will be right on their heels, so they'll make the first wild card spot. But the Twins are also very stacked. You got Jose Barrios, you got Miguel Sano, you got I guess Byron Buxton plays for the. Does he still play? He doesn't play for the Twins anymore.
I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember who he.
We'll fact check it.
Jake Cave, who's the Twins right fielder, very good. He's been in the top 10 in the Sports Center back-to-back nights. Very, very good fielder, can cover a lot of ground. And their bullpen is good as well. They have their closer, I believe his name's Parker. We're gonna have to fact check that as well. But he's one of the best closers in the AL as well. So I think the Twins will win the Central. And so I have the Indians, and then I also have the Oakland Athletics from a standpoint of actually statistics. Because if we look at specifically their pitching, which
they're
I
really
think when you
close
guys brought,
with the Rays. Like
they're
both
very
really
close. I would say the Athletics and the Rays are like carbon copy seasons. Like they're pretty identical, and it's just a matter of which team's gonna beat each other out. I think it might come down to like a game 162 thing, where it's like they're both playing the same day. Whoever wins makes the wild card. But the Athletics are 4th in the AL in pitching. Their ERA is just over 4, so it's not fantastic. But I mean, the Rays are 1st in pitching. I just think the Athletics have more consistent hitters. Their team stats may not show that, but you think about Marcus Semien, you think about Matt Chapman, you think about their fielding as well. Chris Davis. Their fielding, their center fielder, whose last name is very hard to pronounce, but he robbed 2 home runs in the first 2 weeks. He was one of the best fielders and one of the best center fielders in the game. So I think the Athletics will beat out the Rays for the second wild card spot. And I'm not going to get any more predictions from there because we'll get into that.
We want the NL. We don't want the AL.
Yeah, and that's where we're getting to.
Oh boy,
we're getting back to the blasphemy that came out of Dylan's mouth. So, Dodgers, Braves, we'll move on. Those two are already given. I mean, the Dodgers are 5 years ahead of the second place NL West team. They've already beat them next season, pretty much. They're that far ahead. And now we come to the wild card, and it is called the wild card because, folks, it gets wild up in here. It gets wild around wild card season, and it got wild out of Dylan's mouth too. It was getting fired out of Dylan's mouth. You're going hot takes before hot takes before hot takes because we still got time, bro. We still got time, and you're already talking about it. So here's what I got. I got Dodgers, Braves, and when we get to wild card teams, I already mentioned him out a little bit. The Cubs are the first wild card team. For the reasons you just said. You took the words out of my mouth. They have greatness. They have playoff experience. They have a great pitching staff. They're going to make the playoffs. But they are not beating out the Cardinals. And the reason I believe they're not beating out the Cardinals is because our hitting has been hit or miss. To your point of the stats, we are currently in hitting in the NL 13th, like you said, out of 15 teams. So not the greatest. But what we do have is consistency within our lineup. Now, when you have consistency within your lineup, there's something called moving the line. Moving the line in MLB, if someone gets a hit, the next guy has the momentum to also get a hit. The reason I believe the Cardinals will win the division is also because of our pitching staff. Jack Flaherty's pitching like a Cy Young right now. Jack Flaherty has given up 1 run in his last 3 starts. The Cardinals have the number 2 pitching staff in the National League, right behind the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Their ERA is still 4.
Their ERA is still 4, which is true. But again, when you look at the wholeness of a team, sometimes that can be kind of deceiving, especially when you look at a team like the Cardinals.
Their bullpen just isn't solid.
But here's the thing:
they get a lot of saves.
The bullpen's not solid, but I would also
they lost Jordan Hicks, who's their
They lost.
top-tier
We lost
closer,
Jordan Hicks.
and your closer right now, Carlos Martinez, isn't that great.
Here's the thing: when we talk about greatness, that's when we're actually getting to the playoffs. So we have to get to the playoffs first. That's what I'm saying. All we have to do.
To get to the playoffs.
Yeah, but I'm saying we play the Cubs 7 out of the last 10 times. 7 out of the last 10 games in the season. 7 games out of the last 10 games
That's
we play
huge.
against the Cubs, which are going to be huge games. I don't know. I still need to. I'll get back to you on that in terms of how that will shake out in terms of the last 4 games, in terms of the record between the 2 teams. But that will determine the division champ, obviously. But when you think about the Cardinals pitching staff specifically, and I'll talk about the Cubs pitching staff as well. But let me get to my other wild card team first, because the other wild card team I think is going to make the playoffs is the Mets. And I thought it wasn't going to be the Mets when we were first talking about it, but then when you brought up the Nationals, I'm like, wait, the Nationals are definitely not making the playoffs. So
I mean,
the
tell
Mets.
Me why?
Well, okay.
Like,
So here's the thing about the Nationals.
Let's look at top to bottom. The Nationals compared even to the Cardinals. The pitching staff of the Nationals wins. Like when you look at top to bottom.
Okay, here's my reasoning for that
solid.
though.
Their lineup way more solid.
Okay,
than
so
Strasburg and Scherzer.
Yeah. They
and
have
Corbin.
Here's
Here's
my reasoning for that.
And they added depth in the bullpen.
Here's my reasoning for that. The Cardinals' last 10 games, 7 of them are against the Cubs. So they won't even have to play any other teams. They'll have to play 3 games are against the Cubs. So all the Cardinals have to do is worry about their division. So we're going to make the argument that the Nationals are a better playoff team than the Cardinals. Then the Nationals should be playing. Then the way the schedule worked out, it could have been the Nationals and the Cardinals playing the last 7 out of 10 games. But because we're in the same division as the Cubs, we got to beat out the Cubs.
No, but if the Cubs beat you.
Well, if the Cubs beat us, then it's over. Yeah, the Cubs beat us.
I'm saying the Cubs are going to beat you because y'all are
No.
And then the Nationals are going to keep winning.
Because the point I was going to get to after the Mets is that the cohesiveness of a team can be deceptive, especially when it comes to pitching. Because one guy, especially when you're a bullpen guy, one guy can ruin your team's ERA. One bullpen guy can ruin your team's ERA.
Not necessarily.
Because he can pitch for 2/3 of an inning, give up 4 hits and 3 runs.
But over
then you have to go to somebody else.
There's 162 games.
Well, I know, but 162 games. I'm talking about right now, right today, the Cardinals have the second best pitching staff in the entire league.
But their whole entire starting rotation, I think the lowest guy is like a 3.6.
Okay, but we're talking about like if you're a ERA of 2 to 3, that is incredible to have that over the score of how many starts they have. 25 starts
30.
over a season. Yeah, 25, 30 starts over a season.
What's crazy too, Nationals and Mets are like 3rd and 4th in strikeouts between pitchers.
Yeah.
There's not.
So
you could argue both ways on these teams, I think.
Honestly, my whole thing with the Nationals is kind of the argument you use with the A's as well. The Nationals cannot get past the first round of anything when they get to the playoffs.
They just gotta get there. I think
they just gotta get there. But what I believe is that to use the argument of the Cardinals and the Cubs in the same division, the Mets and the Nationals are in the same division.
Right.
I only think one of them is coming out.
Oh, I agree with that.
That's why I said the Mets. You said that both of them are going to make the wild card. That'd be crazy.
So all 3 of them.
Yeah, so you said Braves, Nationals. So
yeah.
There's only 2 teams in the NL East that aren't making the playoffs.
Yep.
And the Phillies are not a bad team.
The Phillies are right up in there. I just don't think they have the depth.
I agree.
The Phillies are still a work in progress for sure. But so that's where I stand. I know we got to move on, but that's where I stand.
I think any closing comments?
I think he's trying to cut me off. You see this? I think the Cardinals will win the division again, specifically because of consistency in the bullpen. Granted, the words greatness never came out of my mouth when talking about pitching or hitting. The word that did come out of my mouth is consistency. To your point, all you have to do is get there. The Cardinals have missed the playoffs the last 2 seasons. Believe me, I know. That doesn't fly in St. Louis. If you make the playoffs, it only goes. You didn't just play. All you have to do is make the playoffs, and then you're just playing. So that's why I believe we're going to win. But I also give the greatness factor to the Cubs. My whole thing is, will the Cubs be able to get to the point where they end up playing us?
He's still on that St. Louis Blues high.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I'm on a St. Louis Blues high, but I'm talking about consistency from a completely because that's what I would say also about. Not the
I didn't
Mets,
even
but
call him out on bias. Crap.
no, you didn't. Oh, I had
the Red Sox are winning it all, guys. Let's talk about bias.
I had the stats. So I got accused. I had someone come up to me this week at school who said, "You don't have enough stats. You don't show enough stats in your argument. You're all based on feeling." So I came with stats this time. I came with stats. The Cardinals have the second best pitching staff in the league.
I like that guy. Whoever told you that.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I'll tell you who he is later. But he's a great guy.
The 13th
So-
inning.
So it's a great argument. We'll have to see how it shapes out, but I think that's how it is right now. I think all of us would be able to agree on the fact that we could beg to differ if certain things happen. But that's where I stand right now. But I don't know about 3 teams in the NL East making the playoffs. That does not sit well with me. Does that sit well with you? You have the floor for closing comments.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think we can all agree on the team that we have locked, and for both AL Central, NL Central, that's where
It's
a
like
lot
it's all
of
fluctuating. Yeah.
fluctuating. Closing comments. I just think we have to wait and see.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Oh,
be
come on.
No,
Come on.
No, for real.
Okay.
It's gonna be an exciting. Different teams, 33, 34, 35 games left in the season. I stand by what I have to say, and my teams.
So you're avoiding the question now.
Each game's gonna count. Like it's gonna be.
Each game is going to count for sure.
Especially with, I think, if you're looking at the Athletics and the Rays, they are so close. The Rays have one more win, but also one more loss.
The Rays
Yeah,
are
Athletics.
74 and 54. The Athletics are 73 and 53.
Yeah,
So they're
super
literally
close.
tied for second place in the wild card.
And those are really the only 2 teams that are fighting. I flipped the Twins, the Indians, and who's going to win the division, who's going to be the wild card. But Twins and Athletics and Rays, it's only one of those teams that are really fighting for. They're not going to win the divisions.
Yeah.
But they're fighting for the wild card, and that's going to be big. And NL, there's a lot of teams.
3
Central
teams in the
and
NL East?
I personally agree with AJ. I don't know if
3 teams!
The NL East though is stacked. I mean, those are playoff worthy teams. They've had good seasons. They have stats to show that they have the potential to make the playoffs.
Whoa.
But hey, it's gonna
It's gonna
every
be
game's
fun.
gonna
be
count,
a
like you
crazy
said.
couple of weeks for sure.
And we could all be right. We could all be wrong. We'll have to wait and see. I'm excited for the
The
playoffs.
Padres
Yeah.
could come in and make the wild card for all we know.
Oh, boy.
I don't know about that.
I
Well,
think-
That was for Caleb Waywire. Sorry. Shout out to my guy.
Well, with that, we're just going to keep moving right on. We're going to thank Drew for coming on, being our first guest,
My guy.
being the first guy on, the longest segment that we've ever had on the show, and just keep going right on into No He Didn't. So.